12 jurors continue deliberations today in the trial of Lindsay Clancy. The mother from Massachusetts is on trial for killing her 3 children. Closing arguments wrapped yesterday. The prosecution says Clancy intentionally planned to murder her children. The defense argues she was suffering from postpartum psychosis.
This young lady is not guilty of the killing of her children because she was suffering from a disease and defect.
Their mom is the one that's hurting them. Their mom is the one that's killing them. That's extreme atrocity and cruelty.
For more on the trial and what we may see today, we're joined by CBS News legal contributor Rebecca Roiphe. Rebecca, good morning to you once again. Great to have you with us. Watching closing arguments yesterday was quite striking, as lawyers do. There was some theatrics in the courtroom with coins. What stood out to you, though, as each side tried to make its final case?
Yeah, good morning, Errol. I think that the defense did a really good job of taking the facts and making it emotional, because obviously this is a case that is devastating and at its very basic level is a horrible tragedy. And I think mostly humans want to find somebody to blame when there's a tragedy. And so the defense attorney turned that anger against the medical system and against the prosecution. When the prosecutor took the stand, she tried to turn that around and say, this is a woman who killed her children and that she is the one to blame. So if you are angry, turn your anger against her. She could have controlled her actions. She knew right from wrong, and she did this anyway.
Now, it was an emotional scene inside the courtroom as well. We saw Lindsay Clancy crying. In fact, members of the jury were also tearing up, but the instructions almost aimed to separate them from the emotion of the moment and simply focus on Clancy's state of mind. So what is the central question for the jury when it comes to psychosis, and how might just the emotion of the trauma of this play into their decision?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question and really gets at the role of a trial attorney, because of course, when it comes down to it, the jury's considering the instructions that the judge gave them and very carefully looking at the evidence. And in this case, the key question here is whether or not she possessed the mental capacity to commit these crimes, whether she knew right from wrong and whether she could control or conform her conduct to the law. And so when they go in that jury room, they will, of course, be looking at all the testimony and all the evidence they received in light of that legal standard. But the emotion is still relevant. And the attorneys know that, because when you look, you can't really separate a juror from their emotional reaction. So both of the lawyers are trying to use that emotion to direct the jurors in the direction that they would like, to have them see this narrative the way that they've presented it in that closing argument.
Now, we may have a verdict within a matter of hours. What are the potential outcomes for Lindsay Clancy?
If the jury finds that she was guilty of first-degree murder, then she faces life in prison without parole. If they find that she was guilty of this lesser included offense of second-degree murder, then she will also serve life in prison, but will be eligible for parole. And recently, the judge included in the charges a manslaughter charge in which she would be eligible for up to 20 years in prison. And that's something that the sentencing judge would, in his discretion, determine what the appropriate sentence would be within that range. And then finally, what the defense has been arguing for, not guilty by reason of insanity. If the jury finds that that's the case, then she will not be released, but will instead go through the civil commitment proceedings in Massachusetts, which would mean that she's essentially held in a mental health facility until doctors find that she is no longer a danger. And there would be periodic checkups, and the DA would be involved in that decision.
It's just such a sad case, the loss of 3 children. And I think people lose on all sides of this tragedy. But Rebecca, thank you for your insight, and we appreciate it. We encourage our viewers to stay with CBS News 24/7 all day for live updates on this analysis of jury deliberations.